Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. I don't understand this. At what point does anyone ever think that it's a good idea to not at the very least consult the person in charge of something before making decisions about that something? Management can be stupid. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Do not keep things on your desk if even you don't know what they are. Back about 8 to 10 years, I was in an automation and controls position within the maintenance department. We were basically in charge of making sure launch equipment was up to our standards, modifying current fixture, PLC, vision programming, etc., etc. So we always had crap on our desks, parts, pieces, and yes, even some junk. One day, upper management comes through and completely eviscerates the entire maintenance department for how it looks. Now keep in mind, this maintenance area looks better than 90% of the places I've been through, and I've seen a lot. The other part is that, yes, we have crap sitting around, but it's because you don't just throw a 12,000-pound fixture up on a table. We kept as clean as possible, is what I'm saying. Our group had a separate weekly meeting with the manager outside of the normal maintenance meeting. This week, we could tell the big guy was uncomfortable. There are 4 of us in my group. Myself and Tim, alias, are considered the 2 heads of the team. He, admittedly, is a better PLC programmer, but I'm a trained machinist too, so we can do some pretty cool stuff. Anyway, the boss starts out by bringing up the audit, how terrible we did, and what management thinks we need to do better. Same speech we got at the full mate meeting. He then specifically singles Tim and myself out, or I suppose management did. He proceeds to tell us that our desks need to have nothing more than our personal property, laptops, in repair items, items we need to research, and new items that are part of a project that has a work order. We were actually told management was so upset we needed to double our 5S score by next month or it may affect our raise. He ends by saying, "I bet you don't know what half that crap on your desk is." I do. And if you don't, no one else does. You need to get rid of every last thing on your desks that's not part of projects you're working on. Everything up there should have a work order. Understood. We wiped everything. Test boards, HMIs, servos, drives, one-off details, everything. Most of this stuff we'd fix in our spare time while we were bored, but also keep in mind launch engineers are constantly dropping things on our desks so we can try it out. So Monday, everyone can tell we're irked, still did our job, but if you want by the book, you got it. The next morning, Tim comes in and there's a brand new key-end safety scanner sitting on his desk. He looks at his computer, then asks me, "You doing a safety scanner?" It's nothing I knew of, so I say, "No." He chucks it in the trash, says, "No work order, no idea what it is. They said it goes." I followed suit and we did that with everything we didn't know for about a week before the first question hit. Engineer, did you get a chance to mess with that scanner? Tim, scanner? Engineer, safety scanner I set on your desk. Tim, oh hey OP, I figured out the scanner. Yeah, sorry, but it went in the trash. Management said we can't keep anything that doesn't have a work order, and I didn't know anything about it. I don't know exactly how things went down from there. We were rewarded with private project cabinets so our desks could stay clean. Engineers never once dropped anything off without us knowing again. My boss quit talking to us for 6 months. It really seems like an overall win. And our second story. Fire him? I just spent $30,000 training him to never do that again. Why would I fire him? When I sold cars, we had a really nice showroom with large glass windows. One day, I was tasked with moving a powerful V8 sports car, which was in the showroom. I was supposed to reverse the vehicle into position. However, the floor had just been mopped. I put the car in what I thought was reverse, manual transmission. When I started to let up the clutch, I felt the wheel slip, so I just thought the floor is slippery. Just give it a little bit more. I give it a little bit more and the car launches forward into the large glass pan. Thank God it was a hardtop. When this happened, I freaked, let go of the clutch, and the car had enough power to break the glass pane. This was right before opening. The glass pane was massive, that extended maybe 20 feet wide and 20 feet tall maybe? I'm not sure, it was effing big. This all right before opening on a Saturday. I get called into the GM's office, who asks me for the facts. I tell him what happened. He asks me if I'm okay with doing a breathalyzer. I agree. I hadn't been drinking that morning or the day prior to. I passed. He said, "Well, you're sober, so that's good." I go, "Yeah, I am. This was just an incredibly dumb mistake." He goes, "Yeah, it was." I ask, "So am I fired?" He laughs. "You're too expensive to fire now." I ask, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Do you know how much it's going to cost me to replace that glass pane?" I go, "A lot, I imagine." He laughs. "Yeah, probably more than the car you used to drive through it with." I go, "Oh, wow." So I go, "So I'm not fired?" He goes, "Oh, hell no. I know you'll never do that again. From now on, you're in charge of moving cars inside the showroom. Now, get back to work." And I went back to work. I personally refused to move cars in the showroom for about a month or so. Eventually, I started doing it again and didn't have another accident. And our last story. Tales from the Farmer's Market, the one we threw back. For many years, I've been helping out a farmer friend at a couple of farmers markets. He grows and sells a wide range of organic vegetables, which are freshly picked and beautifully presented at the stall. He's a man who has as little patience for fools as I, and who is happy that we both have the capability to scorn customers who cross boundaries of common human decency. I'm not an unreasonable man, but I do have my limits, and occasionally there are circumstances and customers that push me over the line. I'm going to call this woman Rose, even though she's the least florid of people. Frankly, she has a face that could stop a clock, looks like a 6-foot dribble of sour milk, and has a grating whine of a voice. She's been a regular at this market for years, and her reputation is such that everyone knows her by both name and reputation. There are people, vendors and customers at the market, who literally hide from her as she's such an awful woman. She exhibits all the worst kind of behavior, not limited to criticizing other vendors' products, interfering in other customers' transactions and choices, and picking through the produce to find the very best. She's also a time sink, as she'll have a dozen questions about what we're selling, in addition to trying to involve everyone in the conversation about what she's buying. Despite this, we have for years put up with her. Until this day. It was a Thursday, and it was a busy market. In addition to the usual shopping crowd, there are a good number of chefs buying ingredients on a Thursday, and it can get a little hectic. There are two of us working, the farmer, Richard, and myself. In comes Rose. She attempts to engage Richard in conversation. He's not taking the bait, as there are a number of other customer transactions in progress. I'm dealing with a couple of chefs who have large orders. Richard's handling some smaller transactions at the other end of the stand. Rose is running up and down, picking out her shopping, all the while asking questions of Richard, regardless of his dealing with other customers. She's also making comments on some of the customers' purchases, something I'd taken her to task about some months earlier. Richard really is a diamond in the rough. He's intolerant of fools, but is also a patient and very kind man. And even though I'm also very busy, I can detect from both his voice and his body language that he's struggling to remain polite with her. The two chefs I'd been dealing with were well aware of who she was and what was going on, even to the point of raising questioning eyebrows at me in her direction. Once I dealt with them, I stepped over to help Richard out in the hope of deflecting Rose a little. Sadly, she's having nothing to do with me. We have a little history and she's wary, and continues pestering Richard and generally being a loud pest. After 15 minutes of choosing her stuff, she's ready to pay, and Richard gives her the total, which was $10.50. I have a very vivid memory of her fussing over getting the correct change, all the while griping about something totally irrelevant to the transaction. After she'd gone, Richard looked wrung out, and I don't blame him. Rose is a very high-maintenance woman. We briefly discussed her and swapped a couple of war stories and then got on with the rest of the day. A little later, Richard had gone to water the horse and do a little shopping of his own, and Rose came back with a scowl on her face. Apparently, she'd found something that we sold at a cheaper price elsewhere and was moaning about it. Of course, she asked if she could return it to us and get her money back. I was furious. Richard had spent a quarter of an hour dealing with this woman, and I was done. The conversation went something like this. Rose: I've just found out that other farmer has cheaper chard, and I'm returning this. Me. I thought you didn't like other farmer. Rose. Well, his chard is cheaper. Me. You spent 15 minutes picking through everything we had, and now it's not good enough? Rose. But cheaper chard. Me. Rose, I think we've all had enough of you. I didn't even get a please may I return it. Rose. Well, you were rude to me once. Me. Once, for which I apologized. In any event, we're done here. You've been consistently rude to everyone here, including our other customers. Rose. I don't want anything of yours now. Take it back. Me. Okay, fine. Here's $10. Rose. I paid $10.50. Me. I know there's a 50-cent restocking fee. Rose. Totally speechless for the first time ever. Me. You're no longer welcome here. She stormed off, shouting that she was never coming back. I called after her, telling her she was fired. Not proud of my childish lack of professionalism, but it was admittedly very satisfying. Epilogue. The market manager told me afterward that she'd complained to him about my behavior. The CEO of the market association emailed me later that day, telling me she'd asked for me to be banned from the market and reminding me that I couldn't charge a restocking fee. Recognizing a cover-your-ass email, I responded telling her that she could return at any time, but only once to have her full purchase price refunded. She never did. Off the record, CEO and I are good friends. We did laugh about it, and I understood that a few other vendors have since told her she's no longer welcome. But then she never was really welcome anywhere, just put up with. Oddly, another chef asked me why I was in a strange mood. I told him I'd fired a customer and was on a bit of an adrenaline high. His response? Was it Rose? Perfect. I feel a strong sadness for anyone who lacks the ability to talk straight to customers who are nitwits. I light a candle for you all and pray for your deliverance. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.